You know that feeling when you clean your phone screen, wipe your glasses, even blink hard a few times, and things are still not sharp? Not blurry, just off. Like something is wrong, but you can't put your finger on it. Lights at night look stretched. Headlights have this annoying glow. Text feels clear one minute and tiring the next. And you keep telling yourself, my eyes are fine. I can see. That's how astigmatism starts for most people. Quietly, confusingly, in a way that makes you doubt yourself. Because here's the tricky part. People with astigmatism can see. That's why it's ignored. You're not blind. You're not bumping into walls. You can read, you can drive. So you assume nothing is wrong. But deep down, your eyes are working overtime just to give you what feels like normal vision. Let me explain this in a way that actually makes sense. Imagine trying to watch TV through a slightly warped glass. Not broken, not cracked, just uneven. The picture is there, but it's never perfectly sharp. Your brain keeps adjusting, refocusing, correcting, and after a while you feel tired, headaches, eye strain, that dull pressure around your eyes. But you still say, it's just stress. That's astigmatism. Astigmatism happens when the front part of your eye isn't perfectly round. Instead of being shaped like a smooth football, it's shaped more like a rugby ball. That uneven shape bends light incorrectly, so images don't focus clearly on your retina. And because the blur isn't always obvious, you live with it. You adapt to it. You normalize it. Think about this. How many times have you held your phone a little farther away, or tilted your head slightly to read better, or rubbed your eyes thinking they were dry? How often do you squint at night lights or complain that driving after sunset is stressful? That's not normal tiredness. That's your eyes compensating. Let me tell you about Sola. She's 28, works long hours, always on her phone. She thought headaches were just part of adult life. She blamed stress, deadlines, sleep. She didn't realize her eyes were constantly struggling to focus because of astigmatism. When she finally got glasses, her first reaction was, wait, is this how things are supposed to look? That reaction is common, very common. Astigmatism doesn't usually announce itself. It whispers, it hides behind productivity. Behind, I can manage. Behind, I'll check it later. And because it often comes together with short-sightedness or long-sightedness, people assume it's just one problem. They miss the real cause of their discomfort. And here's where it gets interesting. Astigmatism doesn't just affect distance or near vision. It affects clarity at all distances. That's why reading can feel tiring. That's why screens drain you faster than they should. That's why your eyes feel heavy even when you haven't done much. You might notice that letters look slightly doubled, or shadows appear around objects, or straight lines don't feel perfectly straight. But because it's subtle, you adjust without knowing you're adjusting. Your brain is powerful. Too powerful, sometimes. It will fix problems silently until it can't anymore. And let's talk about nighttime, because that's where astigmatism really exposes itself. Streetlights start to flare. Headlights stretch. Everything looks like it has a glow or halo. Driving becomes stressful. You blink more. You feel tense. You think, maybe I'm just tired. No, your eyes are fighting distorted light. Here's the part many people don't know. Astigmatism can be present from childhood. You might have had it your whole life and never realized. You just thought that's how the world looks. You thought everyone saw lights that way. You thought everyone felt eye strain after reading. Until one day, you put on the right correction, and everything snaps into focus. And that moment is shocking. People laugh, people get emotional. Some even get angry. So this is how clear vision feels? Yes it is. Astigmatism is not rare. It's not strange. It's not a weakness. But ignoring it makes life harder than it needs to be. It drains your energy. It affects concentration. It makes screens unbearable. It turns small tasks into tiring ones. And because it doesn't hurt, you ignore it. Because it doesn't scream, you postpone it. But clarity matters. Comfort matters. Your eyes should not be working this hard just to see. If you've ever felt eye strain, that doesn't make sense. Headaches that start after reading or screen use, difficulty seeing clearly at night, or that constant feeling that things are almost clear but not quite. This might be you. Astigmatism doesn't mean your eyes are failing. It means they're shaped differently. And once you understand that, once it's properly corrected, life becomes easier. Vision becomes effortless. You stop squinting. You stop forcing focus. You stop feeling tired for no reason. And the most important thing, you stop thinking it's normal to struggle. Because seeing clearly should not be hard work. Astigmatism happens because the front part of your eye is shaped unevenly. Instead of being nicely round, it's slightly oval. That small difference bends light the wrong way. Not enough to make you blind, just enough to make everything slightly distorted. And your brain, being the overachiever it is, steps in to help. It corrects, it adjusts, it forces clarity, and that effort is what you feel as eye strain, headaches, fatigue, and frustration. Astigmatism is one of those eye conditions that doesn't announce itself with drama. It doesn't scare you immediately. It doesn't force you to stop what you're doing. Instead, it blends into your routine so well that you build your life around it without realizing you've adjusted. You wake up and your eyes already feel like they've done some work. You don't question it. You check your phone. You scroll. You read messages twice sometimes, not because you didn't understand them, but because your eyes didn't lock in immediately. You blink. You move on. Later in the day, you're working. Laptop open. Screen bright. You lean forward without realizing it. You squint slightly, then relax, then squint again. It's subtle. Nobody notices. Even you don't notice. But your eyes do. By evening, you feel tired in a way that sleep doesn't fully fix. You rub your eyes. You stretch. You tell yourself you need rest. But rest doesn't completely solve it because the problem isn't exhaustion. The problem is effort. Constant effort. Astigmatism is effort-based vision. Your eyes are constantly trying to correct something they can't fully correct on their own. Here's what most people don't understand. Astigmatism is not about bad eyes. It's about shape. The surface of the eye is not evenly curved, so light doesn't land where it should. And when light doesn't land cleanly, the image your brain receives is distorted. Not enough to disappear, just enough to be imperfect. And your brain hates imperfection, so it steps in, it sharpens, it compensates, it fills in gaps, it guesses, it overworks. That mental correction is invisible, but it has a cost. And the cost shows up as headaches, eye strain, difficulty concentrating, irritation with screens, frustration with reading, and discomfort with night driving. Astigmatism is one of those eye conditions that doesn't announce itself with drama. It doesn't scare you immediately. It doesn't force you to stop what you're doing. Instead, it blends into your routine so well that you build your life around it without realizing you've adjusted. You wake up and your eyes already feel like they've done some work. You don't question it. You check your phone. You scroll. You read messages twice sometimes, not because you didn't understand them, but because your eyes didn't lock in immediately. You blink. You move on. Later in the day, you're working. Laptop open. Screen bright. You lean forward without realizing it. There's a man in his early 30s, let's call him Cola. Works long hours and prides himself on being sharp, but he avoids reading long documents unless he has to. He prefers audio notes, he prefers phone calls. He tells himself it's just his learning style. But the truth is, reading drains him. His eyes start to ache, his focus slips, he starts rereading the same line. So he avoids it. There's a woman, mid-20s, let's call her Zainab. She loves aesthetics. Clean spaces. Nice lighting, but she hates driving at night. She says it makes her anxious. Headlights feel aggressive. Streetlights feel overwhelming. She grips the steering wheel harder than she should. She thinks it's anxiety, but it's not. Her eyes are struggling to organize scattered light. There's another person. Maybe it's you. You've noticed that text looks better if you tilt your head slightly, or if you close one eye briefly, or if you increase brightness, or if you move closer. You do these things automatically. You don't even realize you've created a system to cope. Modern life exposes astigmatism. Screens don't cause it, but they reveal it, because when your eyes are forced to focus for long periods, the imperfections become harder to ignore. That's why people often say, "My eyes got worse after I started working." No, your eyes got exposed. And here's another thing people don't talk about. Astigmatism doesn't always feel the same every day. Some days feel fine. Some days feel awful. Lighting matters. Fatigue matters. Stress matters. That inconsistency makes people doubt themselves. They think if it was serious, it would be bad all the time. But that's not how this works. Astigmatism fluctuates in how noticeable it feels, not in whether it exists, so people wait and adjust and adapt until one day they realize they're avoiding things they used to enjoy. Reading for pleasure, driving at night, watching movies without strain, doing detailed work without headaches, and by then, they've built an identity around coping. I don't like reading. I hate night driving. I get tired easily. Those statements feel personal, but they're not. They're visual compromises. Astigmatism doesn't steal vision the way some eye diseases do. It steals comfort. And comfort is something people underestimate until it's restored. People with uncorrected astigmatism often feel mentally exhausted without understanding why. Their brain is doing extra work all day, interpreting imperfect images, cleaning up distortion, forcing clarity. It becomes something you live in. Most people don't regret getting their eyes checked. They regret waiting. They regret all the years they told themselves it's fine when it wasn't. And the moment you experience it, you'll understand something important. You weren't weak. You weren't lazy. You weren't dramatic. Your eyes were just working harder than they should have been. And now they don't have to anymore. See, well,